Welcome to episode 194 of Navigating Now. This is a special episode because it is a part of our hot take series. We want to first, though, thank everybody for their patience.
Yeah.
I guess apparently Mercury's in retrograde, so the reasons why we're having some tech difficulties, it was beyond our control.
Yeah.
And maybe if those who don't know, it's also August 8th, which is the Lionsgate portal is opening. This isn't going to be a very witchy episode, but I feel like if we're talking about Mercury and retrograde, we got to bring up the lion in the room, if you will.
Or elephant, whatever the right analogy is, whatever you want to use. But yes, that is the reasoning behind it.
That's what's happening. But thank you all again for being here. We got two hot takes coming at you with my very lovely guest here, Faith Stahl. So we're going to start off with something a little bit more, let's say, lighter, right? Because we're going to give them two hot takes, things that we should be talking about, but we're not. And what's the first one you want to go with?
Yeah, the first one I want to go with is that digital detoxing has some hidden downsides that we don't talk about but should.
So digital detoxing, while people know that it has benefits, you're saying that there are downsides to it.
Yeah, I want to talk about today that as someone who abstains mostly from social media, I have an outdated Facebook account and LinkedIn. If you want to count those things, then maybe we'll add that as the disclaimer.
Yeah.
But largely, I detox from social media. I don't use it. And I want to go from the devil's advocate side and looking from the outside in, talk about what we don't normally say is what are the cons actually of detoxing. We talk about the benefits of leaving social media, particularly social networks. And we don't actually talk about there's some really great benefits to being a part of that community.
Interesting. So how long would you say you've been a part of said community?
Of the non-community, the minority community.
Yeah.
I would say for detoxing with social media, besides like being kind of a little bit coerced by my older sister when I was like 14 to get a Facebook. Largely outside of that, I've been detox. I've never had an IG, no interest in TikTok, nothing with Twitter.
Okay.
Or any of those have not been on my like to-do list or excitement list to join. So for the length or duration of just my life, if I'm being dramatic, I haven't really been a part of social media.
Fascinating. I don't know anybody of our age group who doesn't have just an Instagram, let alone. So let's unpack the cons, if you will, because you're very close to this. The detox, I feel like for something to be a detox, you were there, then you took it away, then you go back. Yeah. There was no taking it away because you never had it to begin with.
Yeah, maybe I don't know what I'm missing, but at least I've like kind of seen or heard through others who have used it. You've told me sometimes the benefits of IG. Sometimes you've almost influenced me to get a little bit closer to being like, do I just join? Do I just do it? But for me, I think that the cons of not being a part of it, again, looking outside in, is that social media, we oftentimes, I think, forget and undermine the fact that the power of connectivity with social media is insane. And maybe I can share just a couple instances of personally for what I've seen and actually professionally what I've seen, the benefits of it and how we actually use it at Thaudium that's powerful. Maybe from the personal side, what I've seen is maybe I'm the last one to know about a friend's recent engagement or just important things or milestones going on in people's lives. So I'm not as fully connected to maybe that piece of it. The second piece that I think is the true power of social media is just how we're able to do good with it. So one thing I like to call out as a very visceral experience as far as how social media, I think, is a great benefit to leverage is actually using the networking function of it. Particularly at Thaudium, we work each year and actually more regularly with a local Chicago nonprofit called Digs with Dignity. They have an amazing mission where essentially individuals who are homeless, they help them transition into a new home, a new house. They provide the furniture, the materials to make that their own. And it's a great mission. And us at Thaudium fundraise each year with them. And one of the benefits that got me so close to just wanting to join IG was seeing how efficient and effective it was with fundraising.
Oh, were you low on our leaderboard?
Yes. I don't want to admit it, but I was definitely low. And honestly, I probably spent more hours trying to raise because I was doing the phone calling, the text messaging, and you probably had in less than half the time more than triple the amount that I could have possibly brought in without social media.
Yeah,
and so you think about the power of connectivity and also the good it can be used for. There's so many benefits to using social media that I don't think we oftentimes hear that narrative as much as we say, oh, we should unplug more. And maybe that's true, but moderation is key
I don't
here.
hear it as much, and I'm on the platform, so
fair.
It's a very good point. So what I'm hearing, like, two big pieces: the connection and just like being able to tap into people's lives in ways that you wouldn't get to without it.
Yeah.
And then also the ability to network, build community, or just for a broader purpose, using it to share out a message or fundraise.
Exactly. Yeah. There's so much power to it that, again, I don't think we oftentimes talk about it from that lens.
Yeah. So with all of that being said, what's keeping you from jumping in?
Yeah. So maybe a couple things. One of them is an important just kind of saying that I kind of live by, is just like comparison is the thief of joy. And so,
can we say that again for our listeners?
We can. Comparison is the thief of joy.
It sure
is. And
I
think it's an important one to consider, particularly because when you're doom scrolling, when you're looking at all of the things, like you do immediately start to put it up against, measure against maybe what your day looks like, your vacation looks like, whatever the case may be. It's hard not to. That's human nature.
And everyone's having these best days. No one's having bad days.
And we're
on
not
Instagram.
Gonna share, typically we're not going to share the negative things happening. And sometimes people do, and that's great.
Yeah.
So that's probably one thing, is I don't need any other comparison to just kind of inundate my life with.
Yeah.
I'd say the second piece is just, we'll get into this probably in a little bit as well. I'm very much introverted, so I think my threshold for how much connectivity I need is probably a little bit lower than others. So I think that I'm focused on maybe more quality in that versus quantity, and knowing my quantity is really low for how much I feel like I need to meaningfully invest in relationships. So I keep it to more my first degree versus maybe needing the hundreds, thousands that work for other people, but maybe just not for me.
Yeah. Balance, baby.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you brought up the introversion. We're going to kind of segue in a bit because I have one last question.
Yeah.
If you just had to pick your handle, what do you think it would be?
I don't know enough about social media to be like super funny with it. What is your handle?
NB Dealio, like no big dealio.
Oh, that's
my
great.
I wish my middle name had a B in it. It does not.
If I'm going to be, can I be honest?
Mm-hmm. Now is the time.
Yeah, it would be so boring. It's going to be like if nobody stole like Facilitator, like my handle would literally just be my name.
Hey, your brand is your name, so I stand behind that. I would have been Nicole Deal if it wasn't already taken.
Yeah, and Facilitator might already be taken. I'd probably throw in like a number or something to just differentiate then.
It wouldn't be anything. I want to give you homework. I don't know if you can probably get on Instagram without a handle, right?
I don't know.
I don't know either. We could figure that out. Yeah. Because if you do, let's go see who Faith Stall is on Instagram.
Yeah.
Because when I saw who Nicole Deal was, she had like just 2 pictures and it was of her cats. And for those who don't know, I'm allergic. So it just didn't really resonate. I'm like, oh, I want to be at Nicole Deal.
Yeah.
Anyway, wonder what the Faith Stall might be doing.
We'll look it up and have to report out.
We will report back. Okay. Let's segue.
Let's do it.
Hot take number 2. What you got?
So hot take number 2 is more of the work-related, industry-related one. And it is, I believe anyone can be a great facilitator.
Anyone can be a great facilitator. Yeah. Facilitation. It's loaded. Let's define what we mean by a facilitator and what makes one great.
Yeah. So maybe at the most base level, what I'll say for facilitation is that I think there's the misperception that facilitation has to happen at some grand stage. It has to be to triple or double digit number audience members. And like, that's not the case. At its base, facilitation is really how can we guide or support a group. It could be just 2+ people. Mm-hmm. And helping them reach some collective goal, whether it's upskilling on some certain training, whether it is informing them of a change. That's all that facilitation is. We do it every day. We're actually doing it right now. We're facilitating. You're facilitating. You're doing a great job for validating.
Thank you.
And so what I'll say is facilitation, that's how it shows up for us. And it's something that any of us can step into. It doesn't matter, the personality type we show up as. You're extroverted. You're a great facilitator. I'm introverted. I like to think I'm decent at facilitation. Mm-hmm. I think anybody can be good at facilitation. It does not require you to be a certain type of way.
Yeah. So that's a myth kind of we're busting, if you will. Myth busting?
Yeah.
Myth busters. That's what we're doing.
Yes.
Facilitation, you don't have to be an extrovert, because what we know is that introvert doesn't mean you're necessarily shy, right? We know that it means your battery just gets depleted faster when you're in a setting with a lot of people. So my question, I guess, for you, when you're leaving a facilitation, like what helps you recharge that battery?
Yeah. So what helps recharge that battery? So there's a lot of stimuli when you are facilitating, and there's a lot to really take in, and probably how you and I show up actually before and during a session might look pretty similar, at least as far as energy levels. We each have our unique style, but the actual after delivery, you said you're like ready to go again.
I want to go talk about it. I want to tell everybody and their mother about what I just facilitated.
Exactly. Yeah. You want to go, you're excited to speak to it. You're maybe excited to do another facilitation.
Do it again right after.
And for me, the energy level is going to look a little bit different.
What does it look like?
Yeah. For me, I might feel like pretty like, excited as far as, hey, this was a good accomplishment. Glad that we've done this and it went well. So
I'm kind of glad it's over.
But also glad it's over. Yeah. And that's okay. Like both can be true, right? And what I do typically to recharge is if it's in the middle of the day, I try to create space before my next thing happens. If it's at the end of the day, it's probably going to be a really quiet night. And that's just how I get my energy back. There's still excitement to do the next one, but it's going to look a little bit different, my recouping from it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Both can be true.
Both can be true. Both are true.
Both are true. What else do you think people need to know about great facilitation and your hot take there?
Yeah. So the other thing that's kind of building off of the fact that you don't have to be the most extroverted or outgoing person to be a great facilitator is I want to share maybe the core principles that actually could make you a great facilitator. So we talked about what maybe it isn't the misconceptions surrounding great facilitation, but what actually I think is helpful are 3 universal kind of core principles that actually we at Thaudium coach to and embody in our own facilitations. And what I think makes a great facilitator, throw out personality types. 3 things. The first thing is all about command. I think great facilitators, command is not controlling the room or controlling the narrative or always having every exact minute down to the dot being perfected and reached. Command is more so about your presence, being able to effectively engage learners and be able to move us towards that collective or shared goal or reason we're together. Command is one. The second great piece to being an amazing facilitator is all about agility. Particularly because we know no facilitation is going to go exactly to plan. Case in point, today, the tech issues that we had. We're starting maybe 30 minutes later than we anticipated, but things are still going great and you're still facilitating this conversation and we're having a good time. So being able to respond more productively in the moment to all of the things that can go awry, that's a great facilitator.
And in dialogue, right? Like sometimes you'll notice as a facilitator, the conversation is kind of veering in a different direction, but you almost read the room and the energy, like maybe this is actually the conversation they want to have. So let's divert and go that way and kind of lose the script, like get rid of the slides. Like this is the conversation this group needs to be having right now.
And being comfortable doing that too.
Yes.
Knowing that that's going to be a lot more meaningful discussion, especially if there's like tension that we're not able to succumb and we're able to overcome and we're just bypassing it. People aren't going to be able to lean into whatever agenda we've now set. So being able to move a little bit more productively and agilely is truly a great skill and mindset for facilitators to have. And then maybe the final core principle I'll call out is inclusivity, arguably the most important one we want to embody as facilitators. And that is all about how can we bring everyone into the mix? How can we engage everyone meaningfully? And it's going to show up a little bit different how certain people want to be engaged with. And that's okay. But what kind of different modalities, approaches, considerations can we make in our design of experiences to meet people where they're at that's going to be most effective for them? So command, agility, inclusivity, those are 3 really staples, core principles that we live by at Thaudium and we coach our clients to that I think can make anyone go from a good facilitator to a great facilitator.
Let's add the 4th because we have recently added a 4th.
We have.
Let's let the people know what it is. It's a secret sauce, but
secret sauce. Yeah,
it looks different for everyone, so I think it's okay to share.
Yeah, I think so. It's a great point. And the 4th one that maybe we'll also throw into the mix is your esprit.
And it's also just fun to say esprit.
That's that's very true. Esprit is just all about how can you show up kind of authentically yourself, your own unique style to facilitation. And that's going to have such a multiplier effect to just how people feel coming into the room and being a part of the facilitation because you're being authentically yourself as a facilitator. And you're probably having a lot more fun as the facilitator, which also feels reflected probably into anyone participating in it.
Totally. Well, there you have it. So how about any final sentiments that you want to share with people who might be on this fence around social media or maybe thinking about wanting to become a great facilitator? Anything else you want to leave our folks with?
Only maybe additional make is just that have fun with it. If you want to step into facilitation, just have fun with it. And then the social media, moderation is key. So decide what works for you. And that's what I'd recommend.
There you have it, everybody. Episode 194. Thank you, Faith, for walking us through that. Everyone for listening. You can catch us next Thursday, 3 p.m. Fingers crossed, 3 p.m. Mercury might still be in retrograde. We will check back on that at thoughtium.com/live.